Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm doing a little bit of a different view because, as you can partially see, I have an absolutely insane amount of books that I need to do a book haul video for. This is definitely going to end up being in two parts because otherwise it's going to be like a half-hour book haul video, which seems a little long. So I'll probably be cutting this up. But I had been doing really good for a while, and then like August especially was just the month that I backslid really bad. And so I've been working on unhauling some more books because I had gotten some more and I was running out of room. I was doing pretty good, and then the new haul is kind of taking away all that progress. But with no further ado, let's jump in and talk about everything we've got here. So this is a variety of things, some things that I've sent. There's a couple of review copy books in here, as well as things I got from Book Outlet, from Half Price Books around, or specifically sought out. We'll kind of talk through in no particular order. First off, we have the Voidwalker collection by Derek Bailey. This was a review copy that was sent to me by the author. So this is supposed to be kind of like a dark fantasy thriller type thing with some like horror contemporary elements in it as well. And this is the collection because it's actually 8 individual novellas. So it sounds like it's something a little bit different and unique. So when reached out, I thought this sounded like an interesting thing. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to get to this because I'm super behind on my review copies and pretty much all my other reading. But it looks pretty cool. Nice physical book. Eye-catching with the color there. Next up then, I've got, which these are in the wrong order, but I got from Andrew. I bought from him his Death collection of these beautiful Discworld hardcovers. So I've been working on collecting Discworld, and you can actually see them now. They're up above. You normally can't see them, but I ended up getting rid of quite a few of the ones that I've read and probably won't reread because I'm like 16-ish books in. Eventually, I'd like to start working on getting these for the ones that I really, really like and will want to reread. So I ended up getting these. I've read up through Soul Music now, so just have Hogfather and Thief of Time left. But I did not actually have any of these before, so very happy to get these guys. So that now I can start my collection there. And then he also sent me a couple of books last month, including The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. This one is, and he described these couple of books here, but I mean, you can even see from the cover, it like involves these ships that sail above a sea of grass, which seems kind of interesting. And something happens where like a captain disappears and they're trying to figure out what was going on there. So really beautiful cover. I like this a lot and looks super cool. So excited to give that one a shot at some point as well. And then the other one was Among Thieves by M.J. Kuhn, which you know this came from Andrea because it's, you know, blue-black, and that's his whole thing. But this one is, I think, just basically like darker fantasy heist novel, and fantasy heist novels tend to be a lot of fun, so excited for that. I'm pretty sure there's at least 1 or 2 other fantasy heist novels in this pile. So Among Thieves by M.J. Kuhn. And then this one I got at Half Price Books because there have been a couple of other times where Half Price Books randomly has a hardcover that's a later book in a series that I don't have hardcovers for. And I'm always like, no, I don't want to get it because then I'm going to want to try and find the others and it's going to be expensive. And this is why I still am mad about it to this day. I did not get the hardcover of Toll the Hounds that was at my Half Price Books at one point, and then it went and never came back. So I saw this and I decided to grab it, Republic of Thieves, which is the 3rd book in the Gentleman Bastards, nice condition, hardcover, and I have these in mass market paperback, which is what I originally read them in years ago, so I couldn't pass it up. So I decided to grab it and get that one. And then I also ended up getting really lucky and finding this hardcover of King of Thorns at Half Price Books. And this was especially awesome because I'd already upgraded to the fancy version of Prince of Thorns, and so I wanted to at some point get hardcovers here, and this was a pretty good condition hardcover. Oh, there's something in here that apparently came with a magic card, which is Titanic Growth. Okay, I don't know what this is. I don't play Magic, guys, so I'm sorry, but I did not notice that in there until literally just now. So I grabbed King of Thorns on hardcover. So naturally, I had to complete the collection, so I went and bought Emperor of Thorns hardcover online. This was actually the cheapest one to find, though, so it works out that that's the only one I had to directly purchase. So now I've got these all in a hardcover format, which I am pretty happy about. Next up, we have a random book. My wife wanted to just pick a random book out of half-price books for me to read. Ended up grabbing this one, which is The Innocent Mage, the Kingmaker, Kingbreaker series by Karen Miller. And this, basically, from the back, it doesn't give a lot of information, but the character is, like, his father's a fisherman. He knows he's probably going to do the same thing, but he goes to this, like, big city and ends up being involved in some other stuff due to, I'm guessing, magic and probably, like, you know, prophecy, that kind of thing. Normal fantasy things, you know? And so I'll be giving that one a shot. At some point, too, that'll be a good one if I do more of those first chapter video for mass market paperbacks. That helped me get rid of a lot of mass market paperbacks, so it was good. And then, continuing different editions of books I already owned, I found this bind-up of In His Majesty's Service, which is the first 3 Temeraire books, and I had a not good condition box set of the mass market paperbacks of the first 3, and then I think I still have the 4th one around here somewhere, but so finding a decent condition bind up of this is one of the series I've meant to read a long time. I was kind of middling on the book I've read by this author, but I've heard a lot of people enjoy this, and it just sounds like it's a little more up my alley than the one that I read, so definitely will give this a shot, and a nice big floppy bind up is definitely better than trying to read this on mass market paperback, so I'm excited for that. And then, which I was going to do audio as well until I found out it's not the same audiobook narrator who did Project Hail Mary, so my half-price books actually had several copies of these, so I grabbed The Martian and Artemis by Andy Weir. I loved Project Hail Mary, and I know some people think that's the best, some people think this is the best, less people think this is the best from what I've heard, but it's an author that I definitely want to try more of his work because how much I loved Project Hail Mary, so I grabbed those as well. And then, since I've been working on trying to try a little bit more sci-fi. On Book Outlet, I've got a memory called Empire. This is, is supposed to be like a space opera one, and it sounds like the premise is like this ambassador is coming to take over for a former ambassador that was killed mysteriously, but nobody wants to admit that it was anything other than an accident. This one, I know some people I think have really liked this and some not, but it's one of those ones that I just recognize the name. Pretty cool cover, and so I figured I will give this a shot at one point. Like I said, I'm working on trying to do more sci-fi, and so I've been taking a little bit of a closer peek at some sci-fi books when I'm book shopping. Then we've got Vespertine, and so this one I'd seen actually on Book Outlet for a long time and hadn't grabbed until somebody in Discord read it and was telling me a little bit more about it. But the plot of this one, it sounds like there's a gray nun, and what the gray nuns do is like cleanse bodies to prepare them to go to the afterlife, but then her convent, I couldn't think of the word for where nuns are, her convent is like attacked, and so she ends up using an ancient relic to summon a very powerful spirit, and then nobody really knows how to control the spirit, so trying to figure it out and ends up having to work with the spirit itself in order to figure out what's going on. So it always sounded a little interesting, but I don't know. The cover, I for some reason I'm not a huge fan of this cover. I think that's why I never got it before, but after hearing a little more about it, I'm like, it actually sounds like that could be kind of cool, so decided to give it a shot. Then we have A Gathering of Ravens by Scott Oden, and this one is, the series name I'm drawing a blank on now, but this is part of a series, and it's more like kind of Norse-inspired fantasy, so I know some people that have read this, and it's just kind of like the John Gwynne feel for Norse stuff, this one, so it sounds like, looking at even just some of the words I can't pronounce on the back, sound like some things that were in his Bloodsworn books, and so I wanted to give this one a shot just to try out something else that's similar in that kind of genre. I don't know if the actual book itself is similar, but just kind of that setting, I guess, is more so what I'm talking about. And then I did get this book, Mythago Wood, and I know I've heard some people talk about this one. I'm pretty sure Liam from Liam's Lyceum has brought this up, but this is an older and supposed to be like one of the quintessential classic type fantasy books, and I've heard of it, but I've never actually read it, so I picked this up. It's by Robert Holdstock, and I think it's from like the 50s, if I'm thinking correctly. Oh, maybe not. Maybe just from the 80s. Yeah, it looks like it's from the 80s, so not nearly as old as I was thinking. But it's supposed to be really good and just considered like one of the big classics. I could have sworn when I looked up something that it was older, but maybe not. Maybe it takes place at a time frame. I don't know. But once again, one I'd heard about, decided to pick up. I also grabbed on Book Outlet Servant Mage by Kate Elliott, because I read this a while back as an e-arc, and they had this little hardcover, and I love Kate Elliott, but I didn't really want to pay full price for a novella that's priced almost like a normal hardcover, so I ended up getting this on Book Outlet just so that I have a copy of it, because this was a cool book as well. Then continuing my quest to get all of the books in the Song for the Shattered Sand except for book 1. This actually does give me everything but book 1. This is book 3 and 6, and I already had 2, 4, 5, I think. And so now I have all of them with the first book. I'm going to have to get the first book at some point so I can finally try this. I just keep happening across these books, just not the first one. And so I couldn't resist. Whenever I can get a whole series or most of a series really cheap, you'll see more of those too, I just tend to always grab them because I'm like, that way I'll have them just in case. And so hopefully I end up liking it. And if not, I'll have plenty of books to unhaul since I have the whole thing now. Next up, what I'm very excited about. So in one of my David Gemmell reviews, somebody talked about his standalones and specifically recommended Dark Moon. Now I didn't realize that Andrew was actually also planning on reading that this month, and so I'm like, oh, that's perfect timing. And I got this, and it was listed as in pretty good condition. You can see very like aged pages. It wasn't shipped super well, but it didn't end up getting that damaged. It just looks like it was kind of old and sitting somewhere for a while. So I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks, because the description made it sound like it was going to be better. And I open it up and see it is signed, and all of my annoyance completely gone. Did not say it was signed. I had no idea it was signed. It was just listed, and it wasn't that expensive either. So finding a David Gemmell signed book, considering that he's not around anymore, pretty happy with this. I don't know if I even want to read this or just put it somewhere safe and read a different copy. But really cool cover. And this, from my understanding, is more of the heroic fantasy that he's known for, with a lot more fantasy elements, I think, than Janai had, because Janai was a lot more low fantasy for the most part. So I will be very fascinated to read this one. Super, super excited for that. Next up, these are some chunky ones. I have the Nicholas Raven and the Wizard's Web trilogy, which is by, if I'm pronouncing this right, Thomas Prostopnik. And this was a really interesting one. So most people probably, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but I do have a P.O. box that's in the description, just so that in case people want to send me things, because I've had people ask for like review copies, other things, and so I ended up getting a P.O. box. I have it down there, and I rarely ever check my informed delivery for it, because normally people tell me they're going to send something, but I checked one day and I'm like, something was delivered today, what was it? Ended up being a box with these guys, and so the authors sent these to me, and it sounds like some other people have gotten them too, but I wasn't expecting them to be coming with it. But it's a really big series. It's apparently like one story in 3 parts, and these, it's the letter says it's because it did come with a letter, so that was the good thing. I looked on there. I really hope somebody tells me who they are with this, because I didn't know. It says it was inspired by Lord of the Rings. Involves somebody who basically gets involved with a bunch of really big plots. Has got like trying to rescue his love, build a magical key, kind of that thing. So it sounds like your kind of old school fantasy adventure things. I tend to enjoy a nice fantasy adventure, so I'm not entirely sure when I'll get to those. Like I was saying earlier, I'm pretty behind on my review copies with it, but I will definitely give those a shot since that author was nice enough to send that to me. And now you know. If you didn't, then I have a P.O. box in the description. No one's ever used it before, and I don't think I've actually mentioned it. It's just kind of there, so that it was just funny to find something there randomly. It was pretty cool. When I just go down, I'm like, oh, somebody sent me books. Alright, so we're going to cut it there, try and make it about the halfway mark, because I knew this video was going to be close to a half an hour, and it was pretty long. So we're going to cut it into the 2 parts and go from there. So this is the end of this one. You can check out part 2 coming at you next week. So watch out for that if you want to find out everything else that I got. But for now, make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books, whether the books mentioned here, other books, any books, really anything. All is a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.